Hey guys, the 24 here. I just wanted to try to put together a quick video on how to initially configure Streamlabs OBS to give you the best quality video output that you can, giving your hardware and internet constraints, things like that. So basically this is just going to be a quick and dirty setup, not a lot of configuring or anything like that. We'll do those in future videos, but hopefully it gets you set up and on your way to providing the best quality product that you can, given your limitations of your hardware or internet or whatever they might be. If you've come over here from the Discord, thanks for being a part of the Discord. We have a great community over there. I love all the people that contribute and get in on the conversations. If you're not in the Discord, the link's down below. Please come over and check it out. We have got myself and several other streamers and non-streamers that would be more than happy to give you input, talk about your stream, talk about changes in the streaming community, or just talk about general gaming and fun. We've got all the awesome self-promotion sections, the meme sections. We even got a section on free video game codes and other sections that track some of the games that we're all interested in. So if you can, come over there, join us up. If you have any questions, that's really the best way to get me and really get information from a lot of different streamers. So yeah, check it out. But all right, let's get started. Let's see what we can put together in hopefully a short period of time to make your streaming output the best it can be. A couple things that you got to think about when you're setting up Streamlabs, when you're setting up Slobs. The first thing is your internet. Okay, we need to take a look at, you know, the bit rate that we can stream at. Okay. And bitrate is a calculation. It's going to be a calculation that's going to be a little different for everyone. And we'll see that here in a minute. But the very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to understand your internet's capabilities, right? So if we look right here, this is my upload and download for my internet. Speedtest.net, best site in the world to go to. Ping it a couple times. Make sure that you're doing it around the time that you're going to be streaming. If you stream in the evenings, take this test in the evenings. If you stream in the mornings, take it in the mornings, because cable companies, which a lot of us are on cable, the way they mitigate their connections is the more people that are on, the more spread out the connection gets, right? So make sure you're doing these tests at the right time. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the number we're looking at is upload. Okay, upload is going to tell us everything we need to know about how to set up Streamlabs and our streaming. I have pretty good internet. I pay a lot of money for the internet. A lot of, if you're still living at home, you know, that's you know, something you can talk to everyone else in the household about, maybe boosting it. But really, if you want to have the best quality possible, you really need this to be around 10 megabits per second, and you can work with that. Anything less, you're going to have to scale things down a little bit. Anything more is great. Now, when we talk about this upload speed, every device in your house uses some of this upload speed, right? And so if you're dealing with 10 megabits per second, and you decide that you want to use 6 megabits per second for just your streaming interface to Twitch, that only leaves 4 megabits for the whole rest of your family. The game that you're playing on the gaming rig itself, because most of the time they're online. There's an online connection. I'm talking about cell phones, you know, your brothers and sisters' laptops, your parents' laptops, if anybody's streaming in the house, you know, watching TV, Netflix, anything like that. So you need to be careful that you don't eat up all of your bandwidth for the household just through your stream machine. Because what's going to happen is it's going to start choking, and the quality of the output is going to drop significantly. So make sure to pay attention to that. But for my case, okay, I've got 31 meg up. I got plenty, you know, even though I got a house full of people, I got plenty of upload here. All right, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna pretend that this is 10 megabits per second upload, because I think that's pretty common, pretty standard, and it also gives you a chance to see, you know, the worst case scenario. Okay, So the next thing we're gonna do, you're gonna go out to Streamlabs OBS, you're gonna download and install it. Now, I'm not gonna go through that. There's 100,000 videos on YouTube about how to do that. I really wanna stick to the nuts and bolts here. So I'm gonna assume that you've already installed Streamlabs OBS and you've already got it set up, linked to your accounts, things like that. If you have problems with this, if you get stuck even getting to this point, please hit me up on Discord. I've got several channels on if you need help, ask a question, and not just myself, but everybody in the community can do an awesome job of helping out. So once you get here, this is where the configuration of Streamlabs is really going to play into the quality that your viewers see on Twitch. Okay? Before we add a scene, before we add any sources, before we do anything, the very first thing we need to do is come down here to our options and go through these configuration settings, because honestly, everything that you add after this point is going to be confined to the constraints that you define here. So getting these right is more important than anything else on the planet, right? This is what's important. So we're just going to go down this list, and really every every option here we're not going to touch. We're only going to touch the options that really are going to affect you and your stream. Okay, so general, pretty basic, nothing really to go over here. Stream. Okay, so when you first set up Streamlabs, you link your Twitch account. Streamlabs does have the ability to multicast. I am not a big fan of multicast. I never seem to be able to keep up with the chat, with the different alerts, with the who's on what platform, who's doing what. So I was never a fan before I was affiliated. Once you're affiliated with Twitch, part of the user or the affiliate agreement that you sign with them is that you will only stream when you live stream. You will only live stream to Twitch, and you won't share that content to another. You're free to stream on other platforms, just not simultaneously. So, wouldn't recommend doing that. But I was a bit of a trail. Sorry. The important thing for me here is I don't like this screen. I don't like this screen because it doesn't give us a lot of options, right? So we come down here to stream to custom ingest, all right? This is talking about what servers are we going to use for Twitch to stream to, okay? So stream type, streaming services, right? And our service is Twitch for this case in this video. So right here's auto. This is what is set every single time you come in here. I'm sure you've experienced it. You're on Twitch, stuff just isn't looking right. You're getting drops. You go to one person's stream, it's just not looking so good. It's not this and that. I'd say possibly up to half the time, it's an issue on Twitch's side. If they've gone through these type of settings, if they've done a good job, if you normally are in their stream and it looks really good, a lot of times it's Twitch's issue. So what Streamlabs allows us to do is actually define which ingest server we want to use in Streamlabs. So if we go ahead and set this to your closest geographical location, okay? So you can go through and there's US, overseas, all over the place, right? So in my case, I'm going to use Atlanta, Georgia. And then your stream key will be set up. That's something you get from Twitch. It'll be set up and pasted in there, but not going to show that. Stream key is kind of like an API security. You do not want to share that with anyone. So we're going to move on. Another good thing about this is if you are having those issues, you feel like your stream set up good. Most nights your stream's going, it's just tonight it doesn't seem, they could be having an issue with their server on their side. Unfortunately, you have to stop your stream to change this, but you could always shut down the stream, come in here real quick and change to a different server. Just change to a different ingest server and make sure that you're back up and running. So, all right, output. Output is where we start getting into the real nitty gritty and where the math is going to come in and things like that. So we're going to go to advanced, change the output mode to advanced. And this is where we're going to see all of our different awesome options for our output. And you'll notice too, there's streaming output, recording output. Okay. If you are capturing your streams or your gameplay or anything like that for, like, upload to YouTube, you can set higher quality recording values than you would normally have than what Twitch allows you to broadcast. Much higher bit rates, much better quality. There'll be much larger files, but then you can edit those files and set those up to be uploaded to YouTube for just a much better quality video than what you'd have for streaming. But we're not going to talk about that today. All we're going to focus on is setting up to stream. So setting up for recording will be in a future video. So this is where these settings are going to make huge differences in the quality of your stream. And having good quality stream is everything when it comes to people coming in, watching your stream. They're going to decide in the first 5 minutes if they want to stay and hang out, be a part of your community, or if they want to move on to another streamer. The things that are very important are audio and video quality, right? Today we're really focused on video quality, not so much audio quality, but it's all things that you need to look at and test and be honest with yourself. Really evaluate yourself and take a look at what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you could do it better. Don't compare yourself to these guys that have 20,000 people watching them, because we're not at that level yet, and Twitch makes special exception for those people. They give them more bandwidth. They give them more abilities to stream and have better quality. And so don't hold yourself to that standard, but hold yourself to a standard that you would enjoy watching, So that's our goal today. So coming down, I only use one audio track. A lot of people like to separate their audio tracks for post-processing. Like I said, when it goes to if you want to edit it for YouTube, you can do that. That's fine. But for me, one audio track out, all that matters. Encoder. Okay. The two encoders that we're going to use, it's either going to be software X264, which is going to be using your CPU in your PC to process all this information and stream it, or we're going to be using NVEC, which is NVIDIA's technology, which uses a chip on your GPU. I believe if you have a 10 series GTX 10 or higher, you have the NVEC chip on your GPU, and you'll have the ability to use this. If you are streaming from the same machine that you're gaming on, right? NVEC is definitely the way to go, because it's not going to take away CPU from your gaming. It's not going to take away CPU from anything else that's going on the machine, and it's not going to take away any GPU, because it's a dedicated separate chip on the GPU. So on the NVIDIA GPU. So if you've got a separate stream machine and you're injecting into that software, I think using the CPU, I think, can give you some better results all in all. If you're on the same machine that you're gaming on, it's almost a must, if you have an NVIDIA card that has this capability, to use this setup 100%. So we're going to assume, again, with our 10 megabits download, that we're gaming and playing on the same machine. So we're going to go down to this NVEC new. Okay. The very next question is actually a hugely debated question in the streaming community. So you have your rate control. Okay. The different rate controls you have is CBR, constant bit rate, CQP, which is constant quantitative processing, I think, pretty sure. And then you have VBR, which is variable bit rate. And then you have lossless, which you can ignore lossless. Don't ever select lossless. Lossless is dumb. The files are too big. We're not a movie studio. Okay. So, so here's what it's going to boil down to. as a streamer, you're going to use, the possibilities of what you could use are CBR, CQP, and VBR. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The best option to use is constant bitrate. For new streamers trying to get established, trying to figure out your hardware limitations, your internet limitations, constant bitrate is going to be the way to go. Okay? You can once you're established, once you have, you know what to expect, you know what your stream looks like, you're happy with your output, then you can start experimenting with CQP and possibly variable. I don't like variable. For me, I use CBR as I'm streaming, and I use CQP for my recording because I do think you get a little bit better video quality with CQP. But CBR is really the standard that every single streaming service recommends, and it's honestly, it's what we should stick with. So we are going to select CBR, and then we're going to get to the next big problem, which is bitrate. So this is where the 10 megabits per second is going to come in from our speed test earlier. This bitrate is entered in kilobits instead of megabits, so this is actually 2.5 megabits per second. Now, Twitch, as a maximum, will allow you 6 megabits bitrate. That is the absolute max on the absolute best day, from starting streaming all the way through affiliate. Now, once you move into partner and things like that, you'll get a little bit more bitrate, things like that. That kind of goes back to where I said some of these guys with 20,000 people watching them, they get a little extra, you know. So for us on our level, the best we're gonna get is 6,000. Okay, just because that's the best we're gonna get does not mean that we need to use all 6,000. Okay, let's go back to the speed test. If your speed test comes back and your internet speeds are only 5 megabits per second, right? Right now you're taking up 1,000. You're taking up a full megabit more than your internet is able to handle for just your streaming, which means your gaming has nothing, your family has nothing, anybody else is watching Netflix, they're not seeing anything. Okay, so you have to enter this number properly, and you have to enter this number in a way that makes sense for your home. Okay, 10 megabits per second if it's a heavy internet usage home. If you're playing a fast-paced Call of Duty style FPS game and you want to make sure you don't want lag there, things like that, you need to knock this down to about 40% of what your internet can give you. Okay, so if it's 10 megabits per second, 4 megabits is really all you want to be using for your stream machine. Okay, this is going to give you a quality output. You're not going to be choppy, laggy on Twitch. You're not going to be dropping a lot of frames. It's going to be nice and simple. Now, again, this is for a beginner. Once you get this set up and you start streaming and things are looking good, you can try bumping it up. See if the quality output that you get is worth what it's costing you in bandwidth as far as your internet goes. So now we move down keyframe auto, set it to auto. It'll figure that out for you. Okay, so preset. Okay, just a basic preset of quality versus performance, right? I like quality. I leave mine on quality. I want it to use everything it can within these constraints to produce the best output possible, right? Quality. Profile high. I forget if this is a CPU setting or a GPU setting, but profile high is fine. Psychovisual tuning. Okay, this is an NVIDIA product, and what this does is so it's an algorithm that NVIDIA came up with, and guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm not an engineer for NVIDIA. I engineer other things, but not this. So if I'm telling you isn't 100%, or if you don't feel like you agree with it, feel free. Feel free to do some research, figure this out on your own. I'm trying to give you an example of what's worked for me and what I think will work for you. So don't take this as word of law. You know, the people in video might listen to this and be like, "Oh, this guy is crazy," but trust me, psychovisual tuning basically is NVIDIA's algorithm that takes things that you're focused on in your gameplay. You know, your if you ADS, you know where you're looking down sights. If there's a key across a room you're trying to go pick up, it'll focus on those aspects and enhance the quality of that part of the video more than per se way off to the left, out of your field of view, you know, stuff like that, out of your main field of view, I should say. So it does use a little GPU, you know, to do this. It does it does put like basically a software calculation into the output that you're giving, and tries to regulate to give the viewer a better experience. I've heard both sides of the coin. I've heard turn it off, it's just a waste of resources, and I've heard it looks great without it, or with it. So I leave it checked. I feel like the stream that I put out looks good. I haven't had a reason to go through and disconnect this, so I haven't. Totally up to you to play with and decide whether you like it or not. But for me, you know, I don't use it. So recording, again, setting up all your records. If you want to come down here and hit this record button, or record your gameplay as your as a separate file for you to upload to YouTube later. We'll do another video about that in the future. It's kind of its own thing. Audio, again, not a big deal. We're gonna mess with audio over here, actually. Replay buffer. Okay. I do not think Streamlabs does a great job with their replay buffer. Every time that this is enabled for me, it destroys my CPU. It destroys my GPU. It is not a good thing. And I have a 2-machine setup. I play on one PC and I stream on a completely dedicated PC, and it still does that. I uncheck this box. I highly recommend you uncheck this box. You do not need this replay buffer. Get it out of there. Let's see. So, okay, now audio. Another way you can save a little bit of headache for yourself, and maybe a little bit of bandwidth, you know, maybe give you some, squeeze out a little extra bit rate, is your sample rate. Well, most sample rate is going to be at 48 kilohertz. Bump it down to 44.1. It's a little less. It's not as good audio quality. People watching your stream are not going to notice it. So bump it down. Give yourself a little bit more headspace there. Not a big deal. For me, when I'm setting up my scenes, I don't want anything to be coming through as a default audio device. So I have gone through all of these audio devices and I've disabled all of them, because what you'll see later is when I add my sources, I will add them independently. I want to be able to control them independently. I don't want Streamlabs to assume that, you know, this is my microphone, this is my speakers, these are my, you know, I'll define all that later as we set up our scenes. So disable all those. Video, okay, so here's a different one too. All right, so again, this goes back to creating the best quality output that you can for your viewers, okay? If you're dealing with a 4 megabit bitrate, then you really need to consider dropping down to a 720p output, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, I would watch a streamer at 720 that is a smooth, flawless stream. It's not, you know, lagging up. It's not, you know, crunching out on me, right? Okay, I would watch that. If you set your output resolution to 1080p, 60 frames a second, right? And it looks like crap, I'm not going to sit there and watch your channel. I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave your stream and go to the other 3 million people that are streaming on this platform and watch one of them. Okay? Do not think that you have to have a 1080 60 frames per second stream to have a good stream. You absolutely do not. What you need is good quality, consistent quality, and chat interaction. And you can have a great stream. You can build an amazing community. You can do some really great things. Do not assume that because you see all the pros, you see all the full-time streamers, you see the guys with the 20,000 viewers at 1080-60, that I have to do 1080-60. If your hardware can support 1080-60, do 1080-60. If you're experimenting for the first time to see what you can do, stick with 720-30. If you can get to the point where you can do a 1080-60, it's very easy to just come in here, change your output scale to 1080, and change this to 60. Okay? Super easy. No big deal. No problem. For now, because I think this is where everyone should start. This is where I started. This is where everyone I think should start. Rock that 720-30, and let's see where we end up. Okay? Let's see where we end up. Sharpened scaling, 32 samples, common FPS values. Pretty simple. All right. What else we got? Hotkeys. I don't use hotkeys. Process priority, I like above normal. Makes it you know, it gives it some dedicated processor, you know, trade space to work with on your machine. The other thing that you can do too is a lot of people run Streamlabs OBS as an administrator when you open it. That's not a bad idea. I will tell you that if you use other programs to interface with Streamlabs OBS, for instance, I use a program called Touch Portal, which is basically my Stream Deck and lets me interface. If you're going to run one program as an administrator, you usually have to run all the other interfacing programs as an administrator. So that's just a tidbit, nothing real specific there. I just want to throw it out there and kind of let you know. So, all right, then scene collision. Okay, pretty much everything else that's it. You know, to be perfectly honest, the biggest things to keep in mind are these output settings. These output settings that fit what you can handle with the limitations of your hardware and your internet. Okay, once these are set, you're good to go. If you start streaming, things look great. If you look down here, this is going to tell you if you're dropping frames, right? This is going to tell you if you're dropping frames, right? It'll tell you right here if you're dropping out. It'll give you a notification. You'll start seeing these bars go red. Never anything that you want, you know what I mean? One last thing I want to touch on. I'm not going to dive into adding sources, setting up scenes and things like that. We'll do that in a future video. The only other thing I wanted to touch on when it comes to your video setup, because I kind of brushed over this earlier. When we add your capture of your gameplay, whether it's an external device, internal device, window capture, game capture, whatever. For this example, I'm just going to do display capture, make life easy. All right, done. Do you see how it's sized way off here? It's way outside the boundaries of, you know, what it should be. Okay. I play on a 1440p monitor. When you're in your video settings here, make sure you define your base canvas as what you're playing on, what your basically what your base canvas is, what you play to. So I'm going to go down to 1440 and see what it did. It automatically resized it to fit my display window. Okay. If you go here, you know, sometimes people will tell you, well, you know, all you gotta do is this, and you know, you just drag it in, and you know, and this and that. Another tool I do use a ton of is transform fit, right? Uh, fit to screen. Okay, yeah, that works great. That's awesome. Except now, if we ever are smart enough to go back in and change that, look what it did, right? I've actually set up scenes before and forgot to set this, and it's very frustrating to go back and make everything look right. So what you do is you set this as your canvas resolution. Remember, this is what you're playing on. This is what you're sending out to Twitch, right? And then you can come back in here. Use an awesome transform. Use the transforms. Transforms make so much easier. I love it. Boom, fit to screen. Cool. Then we have our display set up and ready to go. And again, this is capturing my display that I play on, broadcasting at 720p. So I think that's about it. That's a good spot to wrap up this video, the basics of starting up Streamlabs. The next things we'll get into is setting up sources, setting up scenes, using different sources that I've found that come in handy all across the internet to set up your scenes and kind of make your channel your own. We'll get to that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please do like it, comment. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot as far as the YouTube algorithm and just getting noticed and getting out there. Again, if you're not part of the Discord, come hop in the Discord. It's a great place to meet other streamers, talk about streaming, talk about gaming, talk about, memes, whatever you want to do. It's a good place for it. I hope to see you over there. If you do have any questions, drop them in the comments below. But honestly, the best way to get me is on Discord. So hit me up there also. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you start to build the streaming channel that you want to have to share the content that you enjoy. Have fun with it. Love each other. We will see you in the next one.